Let me be completely clear about something. There have been countless moments in my own evolvement since the moment I discovered conscious manifestation that I have doubted, I have been afraid, I have questioned whether this is working or not, questioned whether I would ever experience my desire exactly the way I wanted it to be. In other words, if I could be as specific as I wanted. And I know that some of you watching, some of you endlessly searching for manifestation content is because you want to be comforted. You want to hear that everything is going to be okay and yes, you're going to get exactly what you want. And you're searching for something to soothe you when you yourself are having the moments of asking the same exact questions. Why doesn't this seem to be working? Why does it appear like nothing has changed yet? Because when you're involved in the manifestation land, yeah, the manifestation community, whether it's law of attraction, law of assumption, the law of one, right? The raw teachings, blah, 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 the I am. After a while, you hear the same old things, the same old phrases that start to sound cliche. And you dare to show up in a live stream or leave a comment and you get the same type of answers thrown at you. And sometimes it just doesn't click, or you don't feel soothed, you don't feel better, you don't feel reassured that anything in reality is going to change. And if you've been around long enough, you even might start feeling like you should be further along than you are right now. That whatever it is that you're manifesting should have shown up by now. And if you're feeling like that today, well, then this is the video for you. Hello, my fellow flawless, limitless, sexy, sassy, saucy HBICs. How are you on this lovely morning, afternoon, or evening? How are you all? I hope you're all doing fabulous. I hope you're all choosing to be the versions of yourself that have exactly what you want. Yes, yes, I do. If you're new here, how you doing? I'm Kimberly, clearly, by the channel name Manifesting with Kimberly. Yes, I'm a bit sassy, can definitely be snarky, but I love all things consciousness. And if you do too, and if you like things to show up quickly in your reality, just like I do, then why don't you hit subscribe and let's be friends? And why don't you let me know in the comments below that you are my new friend? And if I see that comment, you will 100% hear back from me. Now, let's let's start talking about the frustrations and the fears and the doubts that everyone experiences on the manifestation journey. Oh, I know some of us don't even like that word journey, but buckle up, little camper. You can handle it for another video. I honestly don't think people talk about this one topic enough. That feeling like you should be further along. You've been doing this long enough. You know everything there is to know about manifestation. You can regurgitate every phrase, every concept you've heard. You could probably go from channel to channel to channel and even start sounding like that person in the video. I'm sure you could like talk along. You probably already know ahead of time of what their next response to something is going to be because you're that educated in it. And then you look out at reality and what you want isn't here yet. So we put that doom and gloom, that beating ourselves up shit on our shoulders. And we start panicking. We start rethinking everything. We get back to basics. Figure out what we're doing wrong, why reality hasn't changed yet, or at least appears to have not changed yet. And then maybe some of those thoughts are, if all of this actually works, why hasn't it changed for me? Why am I seemingly still lagging behind? Maybe you're in one of my channel memberships and maybe you've been there and have had the experience of listening to someone else, maybe someone else who joined the community long after you, and you know that, and they show up and suddenly their manifestations are all coming in. And you get that feeling like, are you freaking kidding me? You kidding me? I've been doing this longer than that bitch. Have you ever felt like that? If manifestation is real, if it's really real, then why isn't my life perfect yet? Why is Sally Joseph Raphael over here getting her things? And why not me? Why does it constantly look or feel like I'm being skipped over? And then the mind starts doing its job. It starts reminding you of things maybe you've already experienced, things you might be experiencing right now, and it points it out to you how there is more evidence that this hasn't worked for you yet. You're still in the same spot you were when you first made the discovery, or maybe you've moved, maybe you've evolved, maybe you have manifested some things, but maybe not in the category that you're so desperately wanting to experience something new in. Or maybe you're someone who has been manifesting a specific person and you've manifested that person and then you lost them. And then you start beating up on yourself. And again, your mind starts doing its job. It starts sifting through all the evidence of why you're no good at this. But everybody else is getting their stuff except you. I know, I've been there. And it's an uncomfortable spot to be in. That imposter syndrome starts popping up. Quite frankly, all the evidence starts to appear like you are failing. This is where people start quietly spiraling, maybe some not so quietly. And they start questioning everything. And like I said earlier, they want us like go back to basics, start like with a fine-tooth comb, start looking through everything they're doing. Maybe they start questioning themselves. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have stopped doing this technique. Maybe I should get back to that. Maybe I should script it all out and read what I've scripted out every morning or right before I go to bed. You start micromanaging yourself and attempting to micromanage your mind. And I just want to tell you, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. You're getting yourself to the place of where you're not living your life anymore. You're auditing it. You're like a full-time auditor, probably on top of your regular full-time job. The micromanaging. And I've made countless videos on how we shouldn't be logically interpreting reality on a good day or a bad day. We shouldn't be doing that. We should try not to do that. Not because a certain type of thinking is going to stop something from manifesting, because you are source, you are divinity, but because it doesn't fucking feel good. And it keeps us in that thought loop of, I'm not who I want to be yet. I'm not that yet. And this is when people start to feel like I need to do something more, right? Like I said, I got to go back to basics. Let me do more techniques. Let me say more affirmations. Let me do more analyzing like a full-time auditor. Let me analyze everything. Let me micromanage. Well, I'm going to tell you that when I'm in a similar position, when I'm feeling frustrated and I feel like things aren't changing, that is the last thing I do. And I also just want to say to anybody that's doing here, listen, I'm not claiming to be a perfect human who never has a bad day, because I do. I've just learned through my own experience that I can feel what I want to feel and I can think what I want to think. But that at the end of my day, those thoughts and feelings no longer decide for me who I am. And I'm not going to lie to you, even the phrase I am is getting to be a cliche, isn't it? I am that I am. They're supposed to be powerful words, but we have so many people saying it and using it, and sometimes using it not so correctly. It becomes a cliche. It's just another, circumstances don't matter. Your thoughts create. You're the god of your reality. We become numb to those phrases because we hear them so much. And when we're frustrated and it appears like reality hasn't changed, we feel like garbage. So maybe we can look at a different way of talking about manifestation. What your mind is, the you that is doing the thinking, the you that is doing the seeing and the experiencing in reality, is, like I like to say, pure, unadulterated consciousness. And unadulterated means unconditioned. Everything we experience from there is just that, an experience. We're not the thoughts we think. We have all been conditioned to believe that we are, but we're not. Right? Thoughts are just like clouds going by in the sky. Some of them grab our attention, and we tend to focus on them a little more, especially the ones that don't feel good, because we've been conditioned to do that, and we do it to protect ourselves. But this awakening is to free you from that, is to help you remember that you don't have to do that anymore. So let's look at it from the place of what I do when I'm feeling stressed, disappointed, anything that feels like shit. When I'm having one of those days, the last thing I do is try to do more. I don't get into the process of let me overanalyze everything I've just been thinking. Let me beat myself up because I spiraled earlier, whatever. I don't do that. My old self used to do that. I would get upset about reality. I'd get disappointed, maybe frustrated because I don't see anything tangible. And then I would have the spiral. And who knows, maybe that spiral would last several days in a row, maybe a week or two. I'm not proud of that, but it's the truth. I've had that. I've had that experience. And then when I would start to finally feel a little bit better and my thinking kind of got a little more happy-ish, I would beat myself up for the wasted linear time of spiraling. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore because I understand what my consciousness is. I want to help you understand that too. That consciousness is your law. That consciousness cannot be attacked and it cannot be stolen from. Your consciousness is the everything possible. I like to also call it the absolute. We could say the absolute everything. That is what your consciousness is. It contains the everything, anything you ever were or ever could be in the future. Just side note, if you're new to my channel, you do hear snoring, and it is my dog. She's bored to shit with what I'm talking about right now, so I hope you're not. But yes, you do hear snoring. It's poop. If consciousness is what dictates, creates, manifests reality, then panicking about it seems silly. It doesn't make sense to me anymore. Why beating myself up over something I just did, like a spiral? Doesn't make sense anymore to sit and be upset that I just did that. Makes no sense because if my consciousness is dictating what my next reality experience will be, then I don't have to do that anymore, and neither do you. You experience reality through your identity. Another way of saying that is through your state or through the version of yourself that you believe you are. That's the filter that I experience reality through. Your identity is who you are navigating your 3D reality as. But again, you're more than that identity. That identity is just a suit you're wearing. Your consciousness is what is seeing reality through. So the eyes behind the identity, the eyes behind the version of yourself is that unadulterated consciousness, that unconditioned. Everything else is just a new suit or a new hat or a new set of glasses that we see, perceive reality from. So when I'm feeling like garbage, when I'm feeling frustrated about reality, and I do have those days, I choose to step back or zoom out. I zoom out of what's going on around me. I step back and I remember, which identity am I wearing? Which identity am I wearing today? Am I really going to allow something outside of me to take away my divinity, to tell me I am not source, that I don't have choices here? No. Zoom out, take a break. For some of you, it might even be putting manifestation shit away, even though, yes, you are manifesting every single moment, but maybe getting your mind off of it. I'm going to say it, I've said it before, maybe even a doom scroll. Just get your mind off of what is in your face. I don't think that you should go through and start over analyzing yourself and everything you've been doing. I think to clear the mind is to do just that. Clear the mind, not more work, not more something to do to fix. Clearing your mind out, getting your mind off of it, zooming out helps me every single time. And once, let's say I'm having an emotion and feeling, once that moment is over, the tears are out, then when I feel just relaxed. That's when I check in with myself. Who do I really believe I am? What identity am I wearing right now? Am I trying to make sense of reality when I know I don't have to? And I know I don't have to convince my ego of anything. The last thing I do, again, as I already said about making sense, is the last thing I do is try to make logical sense about what's right in front of me. Let me say this came from reality transurfing. No scientific discovery, wrote Einstein, is made by means of the logical mind. It only acquires logical form later when you describe it. Every discovery, even very small ones, are always an insight. The solution always comes from the outside and unexpectedly, as if someone had hinted it. The reason why I just read that to you is because I have said this in previous live streams, but I think it will be helpful again. When something I'm manifesting fully shows in the physical 3D, that is the moment that I'm able to look back through my so-called history. If you're new to this channel and you see me doing the air quotes about my so-called history, my so-called past, it's because everything is in alternative space, everything. So that so-called past can change with me, but that's a whole other video. When what I've desired fully showed, it is then and only then that I'm able to look back through my so-called history and see how the experiences I had along the way, how they logically connected together or connected the dots, where it appears that it was a linear experience. Well, when you're living it, like right now, whatever's going on in your life right now, it might not look like things are going in a straight linear line. One moment, one experience in your reality might not look like it has anything to do with what you're manifesting. You're probably not going to be able to see the logical reason or the logical connection. And that's why I read that. That even in science, yes, when a discovery is made, number one, it wasn't a brand new, technically, discovery. It was something out of the variant space or the alternative space. It was an answer from there, from creation. Creation is finished, something that already exists. But it is only then that even scientists can look back, same idea, can look back and see how there were experience after experience after experience that connected to the discovery. That's when they see the so-called logical unfolding. It's after, not before. So when we're all caught up being upset over the 3D, questioning the 3D, doubting the 3D, it's in that moment that I would love for you to remember, come back and watch this video, is you're upset about something that really is silly. You're upset over nothing. You're upset because you don't logically understand something that you were never really meant to understand until after the desire is here. Most of the time when people say that their manifestation isn't working or their manifestation isn't here yet, what they really mean to say is it hasn't happened in my timeline. It hasn't happened in the way I expected it to. That's what we're really saying. And what they're saying is, I don't believe I am that. I don't believe this is going to work out for me. I don't believe I'm going to have my outcome. I don't. I am not that I am. That's what we're saying. When you're feeling ready to listen, try to remember that you're allowed to doubt. You're allowed to feel fear. You're allowed to question. You're allowed to ask, where is it? None of those things have to be a kink in your chain. None of those things have to equal that you're not who you wish to be. None of those things can take away your divinity. Asking questions, feeling unfavorable feelings and emotions, having shitty thoughts never have to equal, well, now I won't get my outcome. Now I can't be who I want to be. We were never supposed to think and feel that way. You're human for a reason, to act and feel like a human. But those things never cancel out who you are. I would say right now in that moment, when you're questioning things, when you're doubting, when you're afraid that you're not going to get your desire, what voice are you listening to? The panicked voice in the mind? I bet if you listen, there is another calm, quiet voice shooting the answers at you. How many times have you been so sure that you're not going to get what you want? And all the while all those shitty thoughts are coming at you, because that's usually what happens, right? We clutch one of our shitty thoughts, and then more and more and more start coming at us. But even so, there's always a still small voice there telling you that everything's going to be okay. Maybe things will work out with you. You're just probably not used to giving that voice a chance. You've been so conditioned to listen to that fear. My point in saying this is nothing ever separates you from source. Nothing can separate you from consciousness. It is always within you. It's because it is you. Give yourself a little grace. Take a fucking break. Try to remember who you are. And most importantly, whatever it is you're manifesting, it really does already exist. The alternative space is what is to be found on the other side of the mirror. That information structure in which the scripts of all possible events are contained. The number of alternative realities is infinite, just as the number of possible coordinate points on a graph is infinite. The alternative space records everything that ever was, is, or will be. The event that actually takes place in the physical world represents the material realization of one of those many alternatives. And this might be very difficult to believe. It's Vadim Zealand. The paradox lies in the fact that we all go to the alternative space every night. Dreams are not illusions in the normal sense of the word. We carelessly attribute our dreams to the realm of fantasy without suspecting that they reflect real events which could have their place in the past or the future. The alternative space is like a matrix or template which is used for the cut, the stitching, and the fashion show, for the movement of all matter. The alternative space contains information relating to what can happen in the material world and how. The number of possible realities it contains is infinite. Each alternative represents a sector of the field that is made up of scripts and scenery. For example, a trajectory for the movement of matter. In other words, the sector determines what will happen in each specific case and what that will look like. The mirror therefore separates the world into two halves, the actual and the imaginary. Everything that has acquired material form lies in the real half and develops in accordance with the laws of natural science. Science, as well as the conventional worldview, is only applicable to what happens in reality. Reality is usually understood to mean everything that is subject to observation or direct impact. Vadim Zealand also says about alternative space. On that side of the mirror, there is an abundance of everything, and there is no competition. The goods are not physically present, but the great thing is you can choose anything as if from a catalog and then place your order. Sooner or later, the order will be fulfilled and you will not even have to pay for it. You have to observe certain manageable conditions, but that is all. Does it sound like a fairy tale? It is far from it. It is more than realistic. Thought energy does not ever disappear without a trace. It is capable of materializing a sector of the alternative space that corresponds in quality to the thought energy being radiated. It only appears that everything in life is the result of the interaction between material objects. processes that take place in the subtle planes actually play no less an important role in the physical incarnation of alternatives that exist in the virtual dimensions. We rarely notice the element of cause and effect in subtle processes. Nonetheless, they form the greater half of our reality. Now, why am I reading all of that? Because I'm trying to tell you that whatever it is that you're manifesting, it exists. It exists. And the way to experience it is to know that's who you are, or at minimum, to remember that you are unconditioned consciousness. That identity gives you the experience of a conditioned consciousness. In other words, who you are. We collapse space, and it feels like we are experiencing time. But that experience of time is the collapsing of the space. And what Vadim Zeland is talking about is it's what you want. Let's just say, for example, what you want already exists. Let me put a picture up on the screen, and this is from the movie Interstellar. And do you see everything that is surrounding him, Mr. Astronaut, Matthew McConaughey? Those are the frames. Those are the different outcomes, the different experiences of all the possibilities, all sitting around him. They look like they're all moments of his daughter's bedroom. That's just spoiler alert for the movie. But that's an idea of where you are. You're kind of hanging out right on there. You're the one in the astronaut suit. I don't think we're wearing astronaut suits, but this is, it's a movie scene. That's where you are. That's where we could say is the vertical. And all those little frames of moments is the alternative space. Who you know yourself to be, that's what chooses what frame. That's what's doing the work. That is what is collapsing space and bringing your desire to you in the physical reality, or I should say, making it clear from the invisible to the visible. So if your desire is hanging what appears to be in the invisible, but it's there, it's in one of those frames, your knowing yourself as who you want to be is what makes your light of awareness shine through that frame so that in reality it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer till you see it and experience it with your senses. That's what you're doing when you make your conscious choice. I am who I say I am. I am that person, that version of myself. That is who I am. That's what you're doing. And the reason why I mentioned that we rarely notice the element of cause and effect in the subtle processes. Everything you're experiencing are those subtle processes. Everything you experience is somehow aiding you, guiding you to experience the frame that you keep choosing for yourself. You just don't notice it. And that's why I said earlier, you don't notice it. You don't see the logical connection from moment to moment to moment to moment. You won't, because it's not a linear straight line until you see it in 3D reality. That's when we look back and think we can see the straight line or the connecting of the dots to how your thing manifested. So, for example, with me manifesting my loving, fulfilling, committed relationship with my specific person, I look back and I see the moments of me feeling like my life is over and I'm never going to have love again, and me suffering through my September. We could go even further back if you'd like, from the moment I first dated anybody in my life and how I went from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, expanding who I was, refining what I wanted in a relationship, learning that it was okay to actually desire something and not be afraid it was going to be taken away from me. I went from moment to moment to moment to moment. While I was living them, they didn't make logical sense. Some moments were painful, some weren't. Some were like wonderful. But all the while, what was happening? I was evolving and becoming this version of myself. But I wouldn't have been able to see how those dots connected then while I was living it. because I wasn't living it in a linear straight line, a linear timeline. I was always in the vertical. I just didn't know it. Choosing, like in the picture, frame after frame after frame after frame, with my decision of who I knew myself to be. Clearly, before I knew about manifestation, I didn't know that's what I was doing. And I'm sure you didn't either. But now you do. So when you ask yourself the question of why isn't that working, does that feel really like the question you want to ask yourself? Does that feel like it? Or maybe, just maybe, you could be living something right now that is one of the subtle processes that you don't understand, that doesn't seem to make sense, but it's still somehow connected to everything working out for you, to you getting exactly the life you want. And the fact is, deep down, you know that you can't say no to that. You might want to because you might not like the experience, but you know you can't say no because you don't know what your unfolding looks like. You don't know. So if you know there's that little question of uncertainty in either direction, by the way, then you know you can't give yourself a hard no and tell yourself this is failing. You can't. Do you see what I mean? You are one with the light of consciousness, the light of God. You are one. Who you know yourself to be is choosing, selecting for you from moment to moment to moment. So when that question comes in, how about fuck it? Take a break. Put the constantly thinking about manifestation aside. Relax, zoom out, and then remember who you are. Because everything is going to be okay. I don't care. I want you to think about it right now. You look back through every moment in your life where you have been terrified that you weren't going to be okay, that things weren't going to work out. And that problem, whatever it was, ended up being okay. Maybe it didn't seemingly look like it was going to be okay. There might have been some discomfort, but yet somehow you're here now. You made it. You survived it. Well, now you're experiencing things with a whole nother view on how everything works and what your mind is doing. So you have nothing to fear because nothing can be taken away from you. Nothing. And nothing can get in the way of you having your desire. Nothing. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow.